Hi everybody, I am Jim Wanzeck with RE/MAX Masters Millennium, and we're here at 6020 Greenwood Plaza Boulevard in the Mount Albert studio, our headquarters here at the Masters building. So we're really excited today because I'm going to interview someone really special because he's part of our business and it's a very vital, every transaction involves a home inspector, and Dan Geschwentner is here with Colorado Home Inspections, and I'm really excited to get to know Dan a little bit. He's new to me, and I just wanted to kind of, hey, Dan, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm not originally from Colorado.
That's okay.
I'm a Kansas transplant.
All right.
Moved out here in '93, so I've been here for about 28 plus years. I just fell in love with Colorado when I was a little kid. I was always glued to the window, and it was always my dream or passion, even back then, that at one day when I was done with college, that I was going to move out here, and that's exactly what I did.
Well, that's pretty neat. So what part of Kansas then?
The dry part, northwest Kansas, so it's about 3 hours from here, Colby,
Kansas. Okay,
yeah.
That's neat. A lot of people are from Colby, and it's pretty neat that you moved out to Colorado, and you're kind of on the west side of the city now. That's also, but you do your inspections. Tell me about your area that you will do inspections.
Well, I'm kind of one of the few guys, since I am independently owned, that I will travel a large portion, at least the Front Range, into the mountains. I've been known to go as far as the Wyoming border to Canyon City. Okay. As far west as Lyman, and I've been talked into going to Durango a couple times.
Well, you know, that's pretty. that's really pretty neat because we are a member of every MLS in the state, and we do business all over the state. I do a lot of business in Grand Lake, Colorado. So you would consider even going to Grand Lake?
Just a couple days ago, I was in Tabernash.
Okay. So, yeah, okay. Very close.
Very, very familiar. Grand Lake, Granby.
Okay.
Winter Park. So I'm very familiar with those areas.
All right. So, you know, I had a question from a past client that bought a house in Florida and had a cracked sewer line. I noticed that you do radon and you know, do a lot of parts here. Do you ever get involved, or how do you deal with sewer lines? Because that seems to be a big issue, especially in some of the older parts of the city.
Certainly, and to kind of recap here, I do offer a full service company, so home inspections as well as commercial inspections. Okay. And that does include various other areas. So I also do mold testing, well testing, radon, as you spoke of. Okay. Also termites, and then last but not least would be sewer scope. Now that is currently an area that I do sub out. Okay. And I am strongly considering, you know, getting my own machine and proceeding with my own sewer company as well. So I do have my own radon company. Okay. So in regards to your original question, my opinion, besides the home inspection, the most important thing you could do is the sewer line. Okay. Because if there's going to be a big expense, it's going to be a sewer line. Right. So, you know, the prices across the board as to what they charge, but I think it's a must. Okay, good. You know, you want to know what kind of condition it's in, and when you're in the position to ask up front and hopefully deter those costs, that's the time to do it.
Well, you know, so tell me, okay, we know that that's number one, but what are the biggest headaches that you have in a home inspection? Where is a showstopper kind of a thing?
Well, the biggest headaches are I'm getting older, so it's certainly...
I'm not going to give you any sympathy on that.
No, it certainly gets challenging some days. You know, I guess I kind of go back, you know, I love what I do. Right. So, yeah, it does have its challenges. You know, weather, high roofs, some of the stuff we probably shouldn't do. You know, difficult areas. A house that would be, you know, just full of items where you can't fully inspect that. Mm-hmm. You know, there's just a multitude of different things. Homeowners that want to stay home and certainly don't want you going through their house, that sort of thing. But as far as the actual components of the house, you know, I've got like 3,000 inspections under my belt. So
Okay.
that's not really my challenge. The challenge is scheduling my time efficiently, because a lot of days I do 3. So when you get those, should we say, less unsavory homes, for a lack of
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, lack of a better term, can present a bigger challenge, because there's so much more work to do, and so processing that, logging everything in, not missing anything, and still budgeting your time,
Okay.
so that you stay within the guidelines,
Okay.
of what I need to do to continue my day. That in essence is probably the biggest challenge.
Okay, all right. And so do you want your buyers to be there, or what's the normal situation that you deal with, because in the busy times, I know they come through part of it or all of it. What do you recommend?
Sure. So for me, it may seem a bit selfish, but yes, I do like my buyers to be there. I do like the agents to be there. For a couple of reasons. It's more of a hands-on feel at that point. And so when they're there, pictures in the report don't always, dictate.
Capture the moment?
Yeah, capture exactly what we're trying to portray.
Okay.
So when they're there, they're able to actually physically see, and we could show them these things. And also for me, it never fails that when I get the call to recap, I'm on a roof, I'm in a crawl space, or I'm driving down the highway. So the more that I can go through with them being there, the better it is for
Okay.
me and for them.
Okay, I understand. So tell me about the actual report in itself. Is it got a summary? Does it go through components of the houses? Tell me a little bit what your report does.
Yeah, so my report, it's all digital.
Okay.
And so, yes, at the very beginning, everything that we found in the home will be listed at the top, and we're able to negotiate that by whether it's more severe or not. Now, there would be, significant disclaimers. So we'd use aluminum wiring would be a good
Right,
one that
right.
we could use. So that's not one that we would want to pass over or miss. So it would clearly call it out as a defect that would need
Okay.
to be taken care of right away. As far as the rest of the report, it's broken down into individual sections. So we would start with the roof, the exterior, and then on down the line.
Okay.
If we have multiples of things, whether it be kitchens, laundry rooms, air conditioners, furnaces, water heaters, those are all separated out. So it's I would say I've written it out in layman's terms. I know a lot of the reports out there can get really cloudy, a lot of detail that I think is unnecessary.
Sure, good.
So again, back to the original question is, I think my reports are as simple as they need to be understood, but as detailed as they need to be
Okay.
when there's an item that we just can't let pass.
So a lot of times I'll be in an inspection with a buyer, and they'll say, okay, here's a defect, and then say, well, how much does it cost? How do you deal with that?
That's a great question. We get that pretty much every time out there. And my typical response is, I could give you 10 different responses, and I'm probably going to be wrong every single time. My job is not to tell you what it costs to fix it,
Right.
but the defect that is there.
Okay.
So again, we'll go back to the scenario of you have aluminum wiring. My job is just to tell you that it is a defect, it needs to be corrected. There's several different ways that it can be corrected, and then it's up to you to choose which one of those forms that you would want to use to correct that.
Okay. You had mentioned, testing of water or wells. I mean, you had mentioned that. Did I hear you right
Yes,
on that?
that's
Okay.
correct.
Tell me a little about that, because I get that as a broker owner a lot. And,
Sure,
and
sure.
People don't understand.
So the reason you'd want to do that would be because you have a home that is on an actual well. So city water is not an issue. You can go down to any local municipality, and they can give you, all the specifications.
Okay.
On whether it's the specific things we look for is coliform, or E. coli, and then all the basic minerals, pH balance, and so forth.
Okay.
So what we do in that case is we'd actually go out, take the water samples, and it takes about 10 days to get all of those back. And then that's going to tell you everything you need to know that's contained inside the water. As far as the well itself, what we'll actually do is a 2-hour duration, what I call a stress test.
Okay.
So the idea is that if you have a home with a well, typically they have a holding tank. So the idea is to drain that tank over that 2-hour period and then let the well run on its own under unusual circumstances.
Okay.
'Cause I don't think anybody's going to just run their water for 2 hours. So the idea is to run that well on its own and see if it can maintain the proper flow rate that we'll calculate at the end of the test.
Oh, that's really interesting, because I know I get that a lot, and thanks for that explanation, because I think that is important. Well, what about if they have a septic system then? Because a
Well,
lot of times well goes along with the septic.
Sure, yeah, great question. So Colorado law that I understand is the seller is required to have the tank drained, cleaned, and evaluated.
Great.
The part that doesn't get checked is from the home to the tank. So that's just a standard sewer scope.
Okay, so you do a standard sewer scope and kind of look for bellies, and people tell me about bellies. Tell me what that means.
Well, a belly is in the main sewer line, and so what we typically see from the home to either the municipality or the tank or leach field, whichever one it may be, is a slow sloping grade of about 2 to 3%.
Right.
What will happen is we either have a cave in or a sinkage in the soil. It could also be people driving cars on the lawn or trees, that sort of thing, that can compress that soil, and then the sewer line will actually sag. There'll be a bow in it. So when you have that bow, you'll actually have standing water. And the end result is that the flow of the sewer line is not proper, so then you'll get a buildup or a backup, which then can come into the home.
Okay, so the belly creates over time a backup that could come back into the house, and
Correct.
that's why they're looking for bellies and that kind of thing. Because I mean, I was wondering, because I know natural occurrences when ground settles, it's not all perfect, it's not all the same. So you kind of see that over time, but a lot of times we find in these older homes clay pipes that now the roots in them and that kind of thing. How do roots get in actually a plastic pipe?
Yeah, well, it's no surprise that a root system does one thing, and it follows a water source. So, if there's a typical leak or even condensation on the pipe, roots are going to. I say roots. I'm from Kansas.
That's all right.
Some
No
might say
problem.
Roots.
Yeah.
Roots.
Yeah,
I
go
want
on.
to get that one out of the way.
Okay. All right.
But they will follow any water source.
Okay.
So
All right.
whether it comes from the sprinkler system, it comes from the sewer line, they're always going to gravitate towards that. And it's just the smallest of cracks that they will work their way in.
Okay. Also, I always have trouble with roofs. And you might say roofs or something else too in that. But when do you say, okay, I need a professional to go beyond this because I got an issue?
Sure. So my standards of practice basically states that if it's anything above normal wear and tear, so what we're looking at here on a standard composite shingle, so that's an asphalt shingle impregnated with stone granule. Aside from major damage, when we start seeing significant granule loss,
Okay.
that's the time.
Okay.
So, even at a minimum, I recommend having a roofer come up and evaluate, because I'm not the guy to tell you that it needs to be replaced. I'm the guy to tell you that, hey, we have some issues here that need to be addressed. So,
Okay.
so even minor defects would certainly warrant having a roofer check it out.
Okay, that's great advice. The one thing that I also see very frequently is inspectors want to stay away from furnaces and say, okay, it looks like you better have this checked by a professional. So, tell us how that works in your business.
Sure, sir. So referring to heating systems, this day and age, there's just a multitude of different ways we can heat our homes. I certainly don't shy away from a furnace. Now, we are limited as to what we can do. So we're going to check the overall condition of it, including the electrical, the gas, any exhaust leaks, that sort of thing. And so we're going to actually run the unit. We're going to check its overall condition, make sure that it's clean, it's operating properly, as well as the blower, and then, of course, all the areas where the heat would terminate into the home.
Okay.
So what we're looking for in that regard is certainly condition, age, any type of corrosion that may have come from a possible moisture leak, whether it be a high efficiency furnace coming from the heating portion of it, or in the summer where it would be the air conditioning portion of it.
Okay.
So there's quite a few different things that we look for. It includes strange noises, anything out of the ordinary. So that's what I look for when I go through.
Okay.
If I have any hesitation, specifically if there is a gas leak, I will certainly call it out to have a qualified technician take a look.
But you have an instrument to check to see if there's gas leak or carbon monoxide? I mean, do you at least get to that point? Or?
We do.
Okay.
I have a gas detector now. We're not technically required to do carbon monoxide. But if there's an issue and we feel like we need to, yes, I do have one on board.
Okay, all right. And so what about a leak that might be coming into the house from the main line of gases? I mean, I don't see that one too often, but, at what point do you say, okay, get a professional in there and maybe even call the utility company?
Sure, and I've had that happen multiple times. Even more so, I've been out doing an inspection on the gas meter itself, and I've smelled gas from the neighbors. And I'm the type of person I have to go let them know.
Right.
And so I've had that happen several different times. But yes, on multiple occasions, I found gas leaks at the meter,
Okay.
Which prompts me to go in right away and refer to the agent to notify the homeowner to have it repaired immediately. And in one case, while I did the inspection, they actually came out, replaced the meter before I was even done with the inspection.
Wow, that's good service.
Yeah, it was very, very fast. So.
Okay. And so I guess my last question is, because we're running out of time, but windows. Okay, so today's windows with losing their compression, what does that actually mean?
Sure. So, you can kind of go back over history where you have single pane windows and your insulation factor is not real good. And so the way to identify that is you will see one single pane, and then of course in the winter they will frost over or build up condensation as well. As we have moved through history, we have moved towards steel windows, which is pretty much the same thing. And then eventually moved into the wood windows, which are considerably better, then into the double pane windows. So the double pane window is a window that is actually sealed with a gas, typically argon, which insulates it, which helps keep heat and cold in or out, whichever way you want to look at it. And today, we've eventually gravitated towards, it's a combination of PVC and fiberglass, which the claim to fame is that the day they install it 20 years from now, they'll work the same. So if you have the budget, that's obviously the best way to go.
Okay,
Sure.
Great.
Sure.
Well, this has been very, very interesting. So, Dan, how would someone get a hold of you? Just kind of tell us, because we'll put it on the screen, but also let us know what's the best way to get a hold of you.
Sure. So I try to have everybody go just straight to my website. If you need to call, that's fine. I can give you the number. But chiphomeinspection.com. Straight to my website. On the top is a link. You can click that. Book your inspection. Everything is digital. Comes right to me. Again, my phone number's on the website as well. If you want to follow up with any questions, I'm one of those people that when the phone rings, I do my best to answer it.
Yes. Like, don't answer it when you're on the roof, okay? We want to make sure that you're safe.
Unfortunately, I do, and that's a bad habit, but I'll try to refrain from that in the future.
Well, this has been a great time, Dan. I really appreciate spending some time learning a little bit more about inspections and how it goes. So if you want to give a great inspector, please call Dan and look